All right, here we go. We're live, and we got a super special guest with us today. Actually, on extremely short notice, too. We have the gentleman who owns the '79 Pace Car build that's happening over at Martin Brothers, Mr. Ricky.
Hey,
And thank you so much for coming on. I know we had a great conversation earlier today, and you gave me a little bit of insight to the background of I guess the importance that an automobile can bring an individual. And the story resonated really well. And Gary, you're going to love this because, I actually explained to him how you don't have a value on your car. Like
right,
$1 million, whatever it is, will never buy your car because it's like that extra added family member in your family.
right.
And very similarly, this pace car will it'll give you the goose pimples on your arms when you hear this story. So, Rick, thank you so much
Nice.
for coming on. Looking forward to the discussion.
Sure, sure. Well,
What?
go ahead.
Yeah, please tell us that, Rick, because so when Chris first mentioned to me that about this pace car, and I mean, it it's somewhat notorious in and amongst the automotive crowd that pays attention to those types of builders and stuff anyway, right? Like it's people know that what's going on here, and I was like, I wonder if there's something with the 79, or is because the 79 pace car is a special car to most regardless, but I'm like, I wonder if there's something more to it that meets the eye. So yeah, I'm dying to hear this story.
Sounds good. Well, I'll go back to the beginning. I was raised really poor. I mean, really poor. And my mom and dad got divorced when I was a year old. And I never seen my dad, never met him. But, so growing up on the farm in North Dakota, it was like, gosh, just dreamed of having a nice car because I always had my grandparents hand me downs. I had a 72 Olds 98 I got to drive. And then
Oh,
I 1959 Ford half ton pickup, four on the floor. But we were the type of farm where we farmed a lot. But it was like if anything broke, we had to fix it ourselves. So we were fabricators. We stretched our own frames on our trucks and stuff like that. So I got my first car. I actually got my driver's license at 12 years old. And I got my first car in eighth grade. And it would happen to be after the hand-me-downs. I had $50, and back then I'm old. I'm in my 60s, but I got this 1967 Ford Falcon with three on the tree, and
cool.
yeah. So I got introduced to the shock towers and all the other stuff. And what's this, And the so drove that for a while and got in trouble hanging out with the wrong crowd at 15, and I decided I really didn't want to live anymore. And I was scared of my mom, and it was a dumb story, dumb kid. And so she called my dad. Never had met him before. I was born in Indiana, and so he came up to meet me for the first time at 15. So him and my mom agreed I'd go down there for the summer for a little bit after school got out. And of course, he didn't have hardly much money either. And he said, "Well, once I got there, he said, I got you a job this week for 3 days before the Indy 500 because he was taking me to the Indy 500, but I had to work for the Indy 500 Festival Parade." And so I got to set up chairs, and it was just grueling. Well, the last day, when everything was all set up, I show up and they said, "Well, we need you to open cars for the special doors for the, special guests." And they had all the pace cars lined up there. And, Gerald Ford was there. And, I'm a big motorhead by this time. And lo and behold, I get to open the door for Catherine Bach, Duke's
Oh,
Daisy from Dukes of Hazzard, you know.
no
Yeah,
kidding.
no, yeah, and it was like, oh, just drooled all over that pace car. We're a Ford family, and mostly all
Well,
Ford. Go
Rick,
ahead.
how did you not drool all over those legs? Those things weren't a shirt for $1 million.
To be honest, I was like so awestruck by the car, I didn't even know who was getting in it until I looked and looked twice, and I was like, and the guy was telling me, "Shut the door." You know, I'm only
Wow.
I'm only 15 years old at the time, And so I was just awestruck. And then I was telling my dad the story, and this was the night after the Saturday before the big race, and so we go to the Indy 500 the next day, and I'm just talking all about this pace car and how I like Mustangs, and we have all the Fords on the farm, and trying to get them caught up in the first 15 years. And he said, "Well, I got a '69 Mustang Grande out here." He said, "It's yours." Someone stole the driver's window out of it, so we drove all that all the way back to North Dakota when I had to go back, and he rode with me, and it was like, oh wow, cool, First thing I do, and I'd already bought my first car just before that, my own money. My grandmother helped me buy a '64 Falcon Ranchero, and it had ladder bars on it, and we and Colt high rise, and Muncie 4-speed, and pull the front tires off the ground. First thing I do, I didn't even visit with him. I just pulled the car over to the shop and started putting mags on it and doing all this stuff. And, so I was like, wow, and so, that was my first Mustang then. And, which I think the Falcons was all, Fox bodies, they're all the same type of car with the shock towers and everything. And then it got to the point where it was a few years later. We were farming. I got a job selling cars in the winter, but just before that, there was a big snowstorm, and the town next to us was Grand Forks, and we got stuck in the snowstorm in Grand Forks with a buddy of mine, and we're North Dakota, and we're driving the streets, and let's cruise the car lots, we said. And lo and behold, there was a trade-in 1979 Pace Car Mustang, and it was, so we went in there, and this older guy helped me out at the time, and sold me, got the deal done. So I traded in my Ford Courier pickup for a Indy Pace Car '79. Happy as a lark, right? And so, but it wasn't practical. Like the next winter, I traded off for a '79 Ford Mustang. I mean, a '79 Toyota pickup, and 4-wheel drive. And it was about 2 years later, I was selling cars at the same place. This guy that sold me the car interviewed me and got me a job selling cars at this dealership. It was a new car dealership. It was Oldsmobile and Buick, and lo and behold, that winter I traded the Mustang back in. So the guy that sold it to me first, and the guy that hired me wrote it up and sold it to me again. Because I couldn't buy it myself. I had to have someone write it up. And got to know this guy really well. His name was Warren Volker. He had Volker Imports in Grand Forks. Originally, he had 9 new car lines, and after that, got that business went defunct. He just sold cars for another dealership. And he goes, "Gosh, my daughter needs to meet you. She needs a boyfriend like you." And I said, "Yeah, right, whatever." Well, she was 17 at the time, and I was 21, 22, and it was a couple years later. He said, "Well, hey, can you go help me set up for a sleigh ride?" And he was doing sleigh rides in the park. He had a big draft horse. And he said, "There's going to be a bunch of UND freshman girls there, and help me get set up." So I said, "Well, sure." Once he said, all the ladies were going to be there. Yeah. So I go there, and there's all these girls, and I'm helping to set up, team up the horses, and I was just going to get in the car, and he said, "Well, go ahead and jump in." And so I went ahead and jumped in, and on the sleigh, and there was a bunch of freshman girls all the way around. And then I jump on. Well, then his daughter jumps on right next to me. Well, at the end, so it was her, me, and all the rest of the girls all the way around the other side. So she was separated from all of her friends. And, I said, okay, I've met her once before, but this is the first time I got to spend any time with her. So we're going through this, park at night. It's a, golf course, and he had a couple perch run horses going up the hill, and they wouldn't go up the hill. So he had to hit them to go and hit the reins, and she was about ready to fall off, and I grabbed her, and we never let go. And
No way.
Yeah, that's been 36 years we've been together. So I had the '79 Mustang Pace Car when we first started dating. And, and me being raised as an only child, and, I had a half sister that I just met recently, but being raised as an only child, she was a kid of, from 7. And I said, "Oh, wow, what a cool family, 7 kids, and they were in the car business. He's in the car business. I mean, dad set me up with his own daughter. I mean, God, how can it get any better, And then the Mustang got stolen, and they got found in a ditch, just wrecked. And I sold it to a wrecking yard. And he said, "Well, I need the title." I said, "No, I'm keeping that. You got to part it out. Don't sell the car." So I still have that title today. And so all these years later, it was because of her dad and to sell me this Mustang that had me meet my wife. And from that was kind of the glue that made it all happen. And so and then after having 2 kids and everything going great, and my wife, we call her Nettie for short. She grew up in a dealership with 9 new car lines. I mean, they had Mercedes, Porsche, MG, Jaguar, Maserati, and so they had all these cool lines and Saab. And so it was kind of funny. I talked to Joe at Martin Brothers, and I first met Amanda, and she goes, "Oh, we're booked for 5 years." So I pulled Joe aside and told him the story. And then a few days later, after he talked to Chad and shop foreman and stuff, he said, "No, we want to do both these cars. Your Ranchero and the Mustang. We'll find you another Mustang." And I went and bought a Ranchero, like my '64, but it was, so I had that sent there and everything. So the thing that started me into more of the Fox bodies, I still call it Falcon of Fox body. That's kind of where it all, started and stuff. And then, getting into the Mustang, and I'd bought in a 2015, when they first came out, and I go, "Nah, I like the old stuff, and more of the push rod stuff, and the right sound, and being racing cars and being around racing all my life, and I used to race snowmobiles too, and it was like, no, we got to have the old one. So Joe said he was going to make it happen, so we made it happen.
Holy shit, Rick. Chris, you weren't kidding. Honest to God, I don't know if you can see the hair standing on my arms right now, but the whole time I've just been goosebumps. Okay,
Well, the thing about it is, before you start, here was a kid that really didn't want to live anymore. And it was because of the love of a Mustang, and started at the Indy 500 that year after I met my dad and everything. And it's what brought my wife and all of us together. And after all these years, so it just had to be.
Wow. That is so cool. Okay, couple questions for you. The car that you opened the door for, Daisy Duke, was that a 79 pace car?
Yes.
Holy
so
Christ.
if you Google right now, Daisy Duke, Catherine Bach was a special guest of the 79 Indy 500. And of all things, Rick Mears won. For me, a 15-year-old, hey, got to meet Catherine Bach, and the other guy, Rick, won the race. And then the first year of the Foxbody, and that was, after the Mustang 2 and 71 to 73, it was like, finally, they built a car.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was all about building race cars, building light and winding them tight. That was the perfect car, after having a Falcon Ranchero and everything else. And it was like, finally. Yeah. And then lo and behold, So if you Google right now, Catherine Bach, special guest of Indy 500, 1979. So, yeah.
Okay,
so I got to open the door for 79.
Yeah, because I heard you say pace car, and it kind of went through my mind. I'm like, I wonder if it was the 79 or if it was, because they've made so many other variations of the pace car, right?
Right.
But so that was the 79 pace car too. Holy Christ. Like you can't deny the serendipitousness of this story. Like this is wild.
Yeah, true story. And they only made 3 that were on the track that had T-tops, and they didn't offer T-tops in the Foxbody until 81. But there was 3 before that on the track cars for the 79 Indy 500. But all the rest of the ones that were sold by dealers and that were in the parade were sunroof models.
Right.
So here's something funny, Gare. So when I first went to Martin Brothers, to see the car, and start shooting some content, right, the first thing that I saw was this rusty sunroof area, because I've only known pace cars to have the drink and removable sunroof. So, we're chatting, and I guess I think it was Chad or something. He's like, "Yeah, I really wanted to do like a carbon fiber roof on it, just like a solid roof, and ditch the sunroof, ditch the rust and everything else." And I'm like, "Yeah, I like a nice solid roof, but I'm like, it'd be really cool is if this car was T-top." And they're all like, "Oh yeah, that'd be kind of neat, whatever." But no, no, the owner, he wants the sunroof. He wants it back the way that it is. Fix the rust. So I go out of my way. I find a full roof that's rust free with a replacement. In fact, I brought it this morning. And so me and Adam are carrying out this full roof that was cut off a car. So shout out to Chris from Foxbody Parts, because he's the one that sourced it for us. And we get everything squared away, and Adam's like, "Yeah, I know Rick wants to. He's free to chat with you this morning at 10." So this is literally like the next hour. I give Rick a call, and we're going back and forth, and he tells me that there's these 3 T-top pace cars, and I'm like, "So it's a thing?" He's like, "Yeah, there was 3." I'm like, "Oh man, that'd be cool." So he's like, "Man, if you can find a T-roof and put a T-roof on it," he's like, "I'm all for it. Like, I'll be number 4."
Yeah.
So I'm like, so Cato is literally, he had I shit you not. While I'm talking to Rick on the phone, I'm looking across the shop. Here's Cato with the blowtorch, heating out all the lead out of the seams for the roof skin so that he can get that one removed and put on the one that I just brought this morning. So like, "Rick, I gotta let you go, man." So I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Stop
Like,
the cutting.
we're T-roofing." We're like, "What?" And then Joe just happens to be walking across the shop. I'm like, "Joe, man, you might hate me. I didn't do this on purpose, but man, he kind of wants to T-roof the car." He's like, "You're fucking with me." I'm like, "I swear to God, man, I was literally just on the phone with him." He's like, "Nah, man, you're just playing." And so I guess Rick texts Joe right after
Yeah.
he texted me that the picture of one of these T-roof pace cars. So yeah, a little possible change of direction, which I just got a message here for a full T-roof assembly off an 84. So as long as Joe's down for it, Rick, we'll be
Yeah.
all right.
Well, Joe said as long as it's in great shape, he'll do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Rick, this is so cool. So, and okay, jumping forward in the story a little bit too. So the Ranchero that you had all those years ago, you've got the boys at Martin Brothers doing one of those for you too.
Well, not that very car. That very car I had run until it was nothing left. I mean, I had ditch lights on it to, get away from the cops. And, I
Yeah.
was one of those guys, and where only only the right front headlight would come on if I hit the ditch lights, no the lights on the car, no brake lights, no nothing. So I could outrun.
Wow. Okay.
And,
But yeah, they're going to do one of those for you too.
yeah, so we bought one at Mecum that had been a show car since 1992. And
Oh,
so it had already had the flush firewall, everything been done independent and stuff, but it didn't have power steering. It basically was a trailer queen. And so,
right.
and it looked like a 1992, it had Traegers on it and all this other stuff. So it was time to put a 4-link in it, power steering. It had a new blueprint engine. So we put fuel injection on it, electronic ignition, just did it up, the interior done, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, very, very cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, more questions.
Yep.
So North Dakota.
Yep.
I've been through North Dakota. There's not a whole hell of a lot going on in North Dakota, even these days.
There's a lot of drinking.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. So
And we're right
I'm
next to
like,
Canada, eh?
this is true. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's not too far away from where I was born in reality,
Yeah.
because I was up, Kenora, which is just on the Ontario side of Winnipeg, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you sort of border Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, mostly through North Dakota, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Which
then I've raced up in Thunder Bay one time.
okay.
Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's not a whole hell of a lot going on in Saskatchewan or Winnipeg either. Like you're getting into the dead flat territory of
Well, it's not the
everything.
end of the world, but you can see it from there.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I always joke and say you can watch your dog run away for 2 months there, right?
Well, the neat thing is you can look out and it's so flat you can see 25 miles. You stand on a beer can, you can see 50.
This,
Oh.
this is true.
So I
Um,
gotta ask, man, like, so grew up poor on a farm in pretty much the middle of nowhere, North Dakota.
Yes,
Obviously, now you got a couple cars getting built by Martin Brothers, so you've managed to
actually 3.
3, right,
oh,
with the wife's Mercedes that's there.
Yeah.
Um, how I guess how did that transition go? Like after this, I guess the pace car and working at Indy and everything, like was just your grit and your hustle there and um
Well, not knowing any better and just ran my own race. I don't know if you've heard of a company called LinkedIn.
oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, if you look, I was a sales advisor for them. They say in the top 1% endorsed in North America out of 200, I can't remember how many it was, million, but for advertising there is. Became a appraiser, but to appraise markets and became a mass market research analyst for better target marketing. So it's demographic, meaning people, matrix marketing, and kind of ran my own race and end up never been to college, but I spoke in many.
Right.
Right. Holy shit, Rick. Yeah, so I mean, do you mind sharing that with us? Like, how do you go from poor farm boy, all this? I mean, selfishly, I kind of want to know like a little bit more about the story where you had more or less at a very young age had enough with things, let's
Yep.
say. And then, now here you are. Like that blows my mind too,
Yeah.
because, obviously that's tough times if you're considering those types of decisions. And then
Yeah.
here you are again, like anyone that listens to us on here is they're all gearheads. So anybody that knows like the depth and breadth of Martin Brothers, I mean, you've obviously done very, very well for yourself now if you're going down the road that you are with them. So that's staggering. I mean,
Good
you
thing
know,
so. I
yeah.
guess I look at it this way is that I was too dumb to know that I was dumb.
Hmm.
And so I just ran my own race and everybody said you couldn't do it. And luckily I have this aptitude. If I can see someone do it, I just try to I can do the same thing, but do it better. And that's the philosophy I've always had. You don't have to work very hard. You only have to work 1% harder than anybody else in what you're doing. And when you look at the work environment in today's world, that's fairly easy to do.
Yeah.
And
Sad but true.
so,
Yeah.
so I just use modeling. Everybody was going out and selling one thing at a time, right? And you make X amount of dollars or whatever. So I got into more of the residual and creating systems that didn't fail. The fail rate was very, very low. It was like when you build a system, like for sales or you build a car, you basically try to take a Timex and turn it into the best Rolex you ever seen. And you just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep failing and keep failing. So the best thing that I knew how to do was fail. And one thing I learned is like most Hall of Famers for like a baseball Hall of Fame, they fail more than they ever succeeded. They just had more at bats. So I just made sure to go to bat. You can knock me down, I'll get up and do it again. Knock me down, get up and do it again. And it was just because of the work falls. It doesn't mean I was smart. You eventually learn some techniques or whatever, but it was tenacity. And, so if you just, I don't care, I guess I had a saying that kind of went like this is, you know, you could graduate from, have a PhD and I can go find somebody that doesn't even have a degree that's a lot richer than you are,
Hmm.
and in life and everything else. And it becomes a philosophy, just like my X profile. I'm the happy motorhead. I'm always smiling or whatever. And so I always had this ability to go to the top. It was like, I don't want to talk to this person. I want to talk to who's in charge, And I
Yeah.
always wanted to work on people's problems. It's like fixing a car. And that's why I used to go in there. I said, I don't want to sell you a dang thing. because you don't want to buy nothing. But what's broken that I can help you fix? What keeps you awake at night? And that's been
Right.
my approach my whole life. And so everybody wants to, tell you them. And so
Sure.
put 40 years of doing that, and here I am.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, definitely. Like most things in life, I guess, like the simpler that you can approach things, the better, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, like you say, overcomplicates the hell out of everything. But so maybe I guess all that time on the farm in quiet little old North Dakota, right? Fixing stuff with binder twine and whatever else. You just learn the simple way to do things and keep things going. And that translates into stuff down the road for you.
Yeah. Well, like when I was young, raised by myself, my mom and she was in all the picture with my grandparents. They always made sure I had encyclopedias, Popper Science, Popper Mechanics, and National Geographic subscription. And
Right.
I read them all,
Yeah.
so it was just bare basics. And,
Yeah.
so when you are bored and you're sitting in the middle of a snowstorm and you got nothing to do and you got rabbit ears, you're not getting anything you have to read, right? And
Yep.
so that's what I did.
Right. Very cool. So now, are you down in Texas now, Rick? Like, are you down in that neck of the woods?
No, I'm in North Dakota.
Oh, you are still in North Dakota. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, as much fun as I was poking about it, it sounds fairly convenient. Now I'm going to try and say some nice things about it. But we drove through North Dakota just, well, I guess it was be 6-8 weeks ago on the way back up to British Columbia here. On the way down, we drove through South Dakota. It was windier than hell, and it was all you could do to keep a truck and trailer on the road. And I said, you know what? Let's try North Dakota. Who knows? Maybe the wind's blowing a little less through there. And it was nice and calm. And actually, as much fun as I'm poking about it being so quiet and whatever else, very peaceful. And the freeway, whatever one we were on, was beautifully paved. Because we put a total from British Columbia to Tennessee, we were like 3,300 miles each way. So we've seen a lot of freeways. And I was quite impressed with North Dakota. And I'm like, I know these guys get pumped in the winter. Like, you guys get shitty weather. And like, how the hell are they doing keeping their roads so nice with as few people that are in North Dakota as there is too? It just
Right.
didn't really all add up for me. But if you go through, I went through North Dakota as the sun was coming down. That was stunning. Like, that will be with me forever. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great state. I mean, a lot of people. I was part of a feasibility study, and this is hard to believe. You look at farming and how it got started in the plains, and they went back 3 generations. If everybody for 3 generations stayed in North Dakota, there'd be 7.2 million people in North Dakota. So it's the most likely state to be from. With that being said, there's so many people that made it in the world that had roots in North Dakota. So it's been fed very well. I mean, fed very well. I mean, we've got, one of the biggest Microsoft campuses there is. And you look at the Fargo Moorhead metro area here, it's like, 250,000 people. Well, there's only like 600,000 people, 700,000 people in the whole state of North Dakota. So, but we got 2 interstates and we're really close to Canada. And, so, you got all the trade and you got all the different things that go on. It's been a great state as far as economy goes. And why they're so good, there was a book written, How Fargo of You, like during the recession, everything, we didn't participate. Everything has been great here. We could, dang near could be a sovereign nation. There's only one state bank left in the United States that's total 100% independent from all the different systems, is the Bank of North Dakota.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of one of the states you never really hear much about, right? Well, actually, both of the Dakotas.
Right.
But we found it, like I say, it was very, very beautiful. It's definitely something. I don't know that you want to necessarily go there in, say, your late teens, early 20s, looking for something really going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's a quieter place to be. And I grew up in a small town, so I know what that's all about. It was like, get me where all the noise is when you're in your late teens, And then you spend 5 or 10 years doing that and you go, get me back to where it was quiet.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's all you want to do is get the heck out of there again. But
we did the same thing. We lived in Kansas City for a while. I was like, no, get us back.
Right. Okay. Well, okay. Let's go back to this car here. So how long has this idea of yours been in the works to find one and get it all redone?
Well, it with my brain, I think about it all the time, and I kind of thought of these different things and how I would do it. My plan was totally different than where Joe led me, and we, conversed about it. You look at Ken Block's, all-wheel drive, 1,000 horsepower car.
65.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to do that to a Fox body.
Cool.
But then we started in on the 79, and I wanted to do it to the 79 Mustang pace car, and he said, no, why don't we just do another car like that, but let's do this one legit. And he said, well, we can go, we'll make a clone. I said, baloney. No. We're going to buy a real pace car and do it to it. And so that's what we did.
Right.
Yeah.
And has so I've heard the direction that the car is going in, through Chris and following along on the YouTube channel and stuff like that. Has this been, as much you as them, or have they gone like, hey, listen, here's what we're seeing? I gotta assume that this style relationship between a high-end car builder and the owner of the car is just like a marriage, right? Like one's got one idea, that's not a bad idea, but what about this? Oh yeah, that works better. Let's combine the two and off we go. Or how does this all work?
Well, my big thing is that once I got at the beginning, yes, let's do this, and I wanted to do this, and Joe kept talking me out of it. And then they were going to put like Chris was saying, just a regular roof on the car. They didn't make a pace car without a sunroof. I said, no way. So that was the one time I put my foot down. That was the only one time, because I learned through time. He called me and got a bunch of questions. What would you like to do? What would you like to do here? What would you like to do here? And I just simply said, other than the wheels, he wanted to do, something that kind of resembled the factory wheel. And I go, no, let's go with a BBS wheel that kind of looks like on an Indy car, race car. And that'll kind of fit the theme, because the factory wheels that came on those, they're probably the ugliest wheel that was ever put on a car. They had those.
Were those were like a TRX wheel or something like that, weren't they? Or something, I forget.
Yeah, like a 3-star thing.
I have no idea, because I tried to forget those. But yeah, so and other than then, I got to a point. I said, he called, Liz, hey, I got the guys here. We're wondering about this. And I just said, whatever you want to do, Joe. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Because my big thing is, because of my relationship with my wife, we've always worked together, and how him and Amanda work together all the time. And being fabricators and metal workers on the farm. My two uncles were metal workers, and so I just liked how he did it old school. It wasn't a lot of drama. They just did it old school, and so I wanted him to do it. And the other reason why I had to have him do it, I didn't want no one to put decals on. I want all that original stuff painted on, all the lettering and stuff like that. And I knew he was the right guy for that. Knew he was the right guy for the metal, and he had the right mindset, family guy, and family first, and and I just said, hey, if I'm going to build it, I want you guys to do it, and these are the reasons why. And so, other than the roof, the wheels, he's pretty much had free reign.
Okay, cool.
And the lettering.
Right. So because the frame that this thing's all gonna sort of, I guess, be built around. Did you know much about that whole end of things, or was that just kind of Martin Brothers?
I know all the big builders have been using roadster shop stuff, for a few years now, Can Dig It or whoever, and even no one was really making their own anymore. But I didn't know they made a fast track, like a track chassis, and so Joe had picked that. I didn't even know that was one that was coming until it came. So even gets it even lower. Yeah.
Because it's well, I mean, I've yet to even see one of these with my own two eyes. I've seen enough media on them and stuff, but because this is kind of one of the, the shortcomings of these unibody cars, right? Is that well, it's frame and body all in one. And
Yeah, and another thing I should add on that, is if you got the skill to, weld on the body on it and do it right, it's more reasonable to buy a Roadster Shop chassis
Mhm.
and instead of trying to bolt it all on. They are so reasonable. If you
Right.
can actually have the tools and the know-how to actually, make it all work, it's the way to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, again, and Chris has seen them, right? I haven't, so I don't really.
Well,
I've
I
just
think
got
that
this idea in my head.
yeah, and I think the key point here with the fast track chassis versus the spec chassis. So I know a lot of people, I guess, as of recent, are familiar with the spec chassis, which retains the factory floorboards and frame rails and all that stuff, and you know gets clearanced accordingly and bolts on. So what the pace car has, the fast track, you actually cut all of the floor out and the unibody structure, everything comes out, and you're pretty much just leaving your rocker panels and your section behind where the rear bumper and stuff would be, and the body fits over that frame, and then you weld right into the rocker panels. So where Rick's sort of going with this, especially if you have a car that's seen some elements and you have corrosion, like put the fact that the frame is loaded with all the suspension, all the brakes, the motor mounts, the rear end, everything is there from Roadster Shop, a la carte, however you want to put it together, as little or as comprehensive as you want. But the amount of time and effort of like doing full floorboards or frame rail repairs from rust being up in the strut towers and everything else, like you literally just cut all that out, throw it away. Now, mind you, yeah, you're welding up, you're putting sheet metal in and making your own floorboards, but to Rick's point, like you cut out, you're not trying to fix or put band-aids on things. This is just cut it all
Yeah.
out, throw it away, roll new, fresh underneath it. And yeah, you got to get a little bit of the fabrication stuff on. Like I wouldn't say the average guy in his garage would weld up a fast track chassis. He can do a spec chassis, but
yeah,
if you got a rusty car with rusty frame rails and everything else, and you're putting a spec chassis underneath, that you still got rust and you still got all your issues. You're just kind of band-aiding it with something else. So it's two completely different monsters. But in this car's case, right, it's everything's custom,
Yeah.
like everything.
yeah.
Right down to the floorboard, the firewall, which Rick, by the way, looks great. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but you actually have a firewall now, and it's all designed, obviously, to take the new vintage air unit, and all the cowl work and stuff for the wipers and everything. That's all been reworked and looks really, really nice. So
I
yeah,
haven't
it's
seen it
neat.
yet. I haven't even seen the Ranchero yet, and it's just about done. I think he wants to surprise me with that. But
All right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I see they built a core support.
Yep. Yeah, no, that looks really, they got the dimple die out and all that. And I'm like, well, now you got to carry it all the way down, the tops where the fenders go to. And
That's what I told Joe. I said, you got to put more dimples in it. I
yeah.
like those holes. Yeah.
Very cool. Hey, Rick, you'd mentioned that your wife's car's in there too. What's the story on this Mercedes?
Well, that was a pretty good little story too. There's a picture out there that in 1976 they had the Mercedes dealership. It was our older sister, her and her mom, standing next to a red 450 SL Mercedes. And
Okay.
at a department store in Grand Forks, they were doing a promotion that's no longer there downtown. And her dad passed away about 4 years ago, and then her mom is in a assisted living home. And she goes, God, I'd love to just surprise her. So no one really knows about it. If they see this, they'll probably know. But my wife knows, but she didn't want anybody else to know, like her mom's surprised. She said, I'd love to pull up in a car just like it and go ahead and take her for a ride, while she still can. So I was been looking for years, trying everything I find, they're all rusted out, especially up north, you know how it goes. And all of a sudden one popped up, and I mean, it was loaded with everything. Even had the factory Mercedes chrome wheels, and it's like, wow, and it's red, and it's 47,000 actual miles, and it's like, I know up here they'd get 35 grand for a car like that. Well, down in Texas, got it for 12.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Joe went and picked it up for me in Dallas, and so it's we haven't seen the car yet. It had a little tear in the soft top. It's got a hard top too, so then needed a air conditioning compressor and a couple little things done. So some bushings in the seat, and they were broke. But other than that, it's he's getting all that fixed up and should be ready to go, I think, next week or so. So. And so
Oh,
we'll
cool.
get that up here so she can go surprise her mom.
Oh, what a neat deal that'll be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did your wife's dad, did he stay in the car business his whole life?
His whole life. He had a little stint in trying insurance, but ended up going back to cars. Yeah.
Really? Hey?
Yeah. He used to race, the old modifieds, IMCA, and the early sprint cars, the limited ones. But yeah, he sold cars and had 9 new car lines at one time, like I'd already mentioned. And after that, he worked for people in the car business, and then he, always sold some on his own too. But
Right. Hey, speaking of that, when you were explaining the 79 pace car, you had brought up something about how your wife's dad had 9 car lines, but then there was
yeah,
something else you brought up that had a 7 in it. What was that again?
7 in it.
Yeah, and I couldn't help but think, holy smokes, like everything is revolving around 7 and 9.
Well, he had.
Shit, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the start of
Yeah,
this
I
again
don't
now.
remember what that could have been, but oh well.
I couldn't help but think,
Must have been the root beer.
well, I couldn't help but think, like, all of these serendipitous moments are lining up. And then here again, a thing I can't remember with the 7, but then there was the father-in-law with the 9 lines of cars. And I'm like, this just sounds like something out of the bloody Matrix here. There's too many 79s and all this pace car and Indianapolis stuff going on. It was wild.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that I did is I went and had custom made Volker Imports. The name of his dealership was Volker Imports. That when they sold that new 76 450 SL, so it got that here ready to go on the back of the car. So it'll be just like the day it was sold.
Oh, cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Wow. So, okay, did you met your wife in Indianapolis?
No, in Grand Forks, North Dakota. When my mom and dad got divorced when I was a year old, and she
Right.
had moved back from Indiana to the farm just west of the Grand Forks Air Force Base, and so I was raised on a farm in North Dakota.
Right. Okay, I cross-threaded that part of the story then, because yeah, you said you went out to stay with your dad for a
Yeah, I
summer
was
or whatever.
15, and in 1979 for the 70, went to the Indy 500, and that was that story. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then when you came back to North Dakota, it was there that you met your wife.
Yeah, later down. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. And it was her
Okay.
dad that sold me the car twice.
Right. And it was her dad's dealership that you were working at.
No, we were working at another dealership at that time. His dealership was already done, and it was at a Buick Pontiac called ID Motors at the time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Holy shit. That's cool. Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, well, how did you get your wife to come back to North Dakota with you? But if she was a North Dakota gal, well, I mean,
yeah, yeah.
she
She
knows what it's
showed
all about.
horses and did all that. So, and that was like one of my Mustangs. Our license plate said "Giddy Up."
Oh, cool.
Kind of worked with her being a horse gal. Me,
So
if it didn't have a key, I didn't want anything to do with it.
It's
knew how to work with them, but didn't care to.
1 horsepower is just not enough.
Yeah, and if it got stubborn and you didn't like it, you could just park it. You can't park a horse. You got to take care of it every day. So,
It's true.
yeah.
So are your mom and dad still around, Rick?
No, they've all passed. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So did you stay in touch with your dad after that summer? Because you said you
Yep,
didn't really know him prior to that.
yep. Every year, go back for a couple weeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
very good.
And then when he got older, then he'd come up once in a while. So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
So,
took him down to Indianapolis? What was
well, he
the
was
thing you
originally
wanted?
from Columbus, Indiana, which is 40
Oh, okay.
miles south of Indy. Columbus is where Tony Stewart's from, and that's where I was born, Bartholomew County Hospital in Columbus, Indiana. And after they got married up here when he was in the military, well, then they moved. Once he got out of the military, they moved to Indiana, where he was from.
Okay.
Yeah, and then they got divorced, and she came back to North Dakota. He stayed there.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's a long distance way to be sharing a kid between two folks, right?
yeah.
Jeepers.
Well, he wasn't even part of the scene. They didn't even know who he was until he was 15. It was back
Right.
in the day where you used to hear of dads walking out and whatever, never hear from him again. It was kind of different times back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, a little more
Well, I think
accountability these days.
no, it's true. But I mean, I guess the part of that story that stands out to me is, and I don't even know if I've ever really got into this in our pod, but like my mom and dad parted ways when I was really young. And in a similar fashion to yours, like there wasn't a whole lot of contact there between my mom and my dad, or me and my dad, whatever. And actually still isn't to this day. He was
Yeah,
never really part of the picture. And so to hear somebody that, has, well, in your case, whatever it was, 15 years, and then, you go and kind of introduce yourself to them, really,
yeah,
um, and then stay in touch. That's pretty neat. Because my dad, well, he's, I guess, in his own half-assed way, maybe kind of reached out to me a little bit uh, as I've been older, or in the older years, which I don't really know how to take that, because I think to myself, you didn't really want to be a part of my life when I was shitting my pants and in diapers. But now
yeah.
that I got my shit together, you want to be a part of it. And anyway, that's a whole topic in
We
itself,
we
because
went we went down that same road, and my mom said, "Well, how can you have anything to do with him now? He didn't have anything to do with your whole life." And I said, "Well, I'm never going to forgive him for what he did, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop him from trying."
Yeah, I
And
know.
I think we can leave it there. But the big thing that I took from it is, and I don't want to sound shallow, but dreaming of the Indy 500, I get to go to Indianapolis and meet, be with my dad a little bit and go to the Indy 500. You know, was I more about the cars than I was my dad? I'll be honest, it was the cars.
Yeah,
But luckily, how that all worked out is cars kept me out of trouble.
yeah,
I end up having a 67 Falcon, the 64 Falcon, then the 79 Mustang. Heck, I could take parts off of one. I always had one that was running,
yeah,
and so when something broke, I'd steal the alternator off one, put it on the other. If ball joint was going bad, hey, they're the same. Oh, broke a shock. Oh, they're the same.
yeah,
So it all worked out. And so I look at it this way: as like a broken family led me to cars that made my family married now over 35 years. And so we're just like we're still in the honeymoon,
yeah.
but it's been based off of the connection of meeting somebody that likes cars, involved in cars, and just like when this Mustang's done, when we're going to go test it out, hopefully at a track down there and different things. And Joe's going to take it around and show it. But I told the wife, I said, well, it'd be so cool since her dad, because of your dad, I got this car twice. Now we're getting it made the way we want it and how everything did. I'd like to have the car and get a minister and renew our vows with the car. But
Cool.
yeah, it
Oh,
started
that's
with the
neat.
car, and we're going to re-bless us with the next car because the first one got stolen. Damn it!
Right. Yeah. Well, Rick, we talk about this quite often. I joke around and say that, if I wasn't turning rentings on cars, I'd probably have a really expensive psychologist bill. Like I really truly view my time with these cars as just a way to let my mind run. I know to people that don't work on cars, it probably seems a little counterintuitive, because I'm out here hooting and hollering and throwing wrenches and screaming, and people wonder why the hell you do it sometimes, but it really truly is just a way for me to clear my mind. And then you get the enjoyment of driving them, and there's just something about that only a handful of us understand. Like no music on, no nothing, just windows down, listening to the car. I don't know. It's a thing
Yeah.
that only gearheads understand.
Well, and then also, I looked at this. Gym is an acronym. Go to the gym. Well, gym came from get yourself moving. Well, if I'm out working on the cars, I'm always moving. And then
Right.
once that car is done, it gets me moving.
Yeah.
And so I just said, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. Well, that means a shop.
Right. I
I
gotta start
like that.
using that maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
put
Going to the
that in the
gym, dear.
title.
So if you go to my shop, I got the bench there and some weights, so you can always, do whatever you got to do. But the neat thing about it is working on a car. This is what I liked about it. Is like I kind of learned to meditate. I got really sick from COVID and dang near died, and I was on machines for 7 months, and they had to put pacemakers in and all this other
Ooh.
stuff. And I had to learn how to meditate. And you look at, and so I'm wearing all these monitors and stuff like that. And, and I was always have problems, my heart racing and different stuff, then my heart not going fast enough. You start working on a car and start focusing, it takes you just about into a meditative state because you're so disconnected with all the problems in the world, right? And all the problems that you may have to deal with. And it's the neat thing is you're taking yourself out of your house into a different area. And it's the best way I've ever found is like, they should do, for people that need therapy,
Mm.
put them in a shop, have them work on cars.
Yeah.
It really is that valuable. People don't realize it. And so when they look at gearheads, you're probably looking at one of the most grounded people that you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah. Yeah. True story.
you know. So I take gearheads and put them up here, motorheads is my case, I always say motorheads, than I would anybody else because I know what to expect. They're
Yeah.
calculated. They know, how to work on a car. It's like the ABCs. You got to have this, the 4 strokes of an engine, intake, combustion, compression, exhaust, suck, squeeze, bang, blow, I
Yeah.
mean, how many people could even know what that is? And,
Yeah.
so I take people that really understand what you guys are into and I'm into. And I will definitely say in business, that took me a lot further than the average Joe because it gives us
Right.
a lot more common sense on how things would work.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. Something that, as you were saying that, Rick, it made me think of. So my wife's dad is, he's an old gearhead, and he's also he's battling with dementia right now.
Yeah.
And, you saying earlier that your wife's mom is in assisted living. Well, we're in the stages with him where we're trying to figure out how we want to handle that, right? And when's the right time, or maybe not. There isn't a good time. Who knows? But anyway, as we were going through all this, I couldn't help but think to myself, I wonder why there's not, like, maybe it could be a full-blown assisted living, or maybe it's just a partial assisted living that somebody starts where it's a shop. Maybe you got to keep some of the heavy duty power tools out of the way, but like just a way for some of these old gearheads to come in, right? Flip on the coffee and hang out with a bunch of other old guys that are maybe in the same dementia ridden boat or whatever, and
Yeah.
hang out in the shop and pull a couple wrenches throughout the day. And because the thing,
clean, detailed, whatever.
yeah, totally. And because the thing that we've learned going through all this is that typically dementia hurts you in all the current day stuff that you've learned essentially since this thing's taken a hold of you. But
Yeah.
everything prior to that, you're usually pretty good with. You got recall, you can remember hell when you were a little kid, but the new stuff, the current day stuff, you forget where the hell you're going to try to get home and stuff, right?
Right.
So anyway, by getting these guys back in that sort of familiar arena of the shop and rubbing elbows with all the old boys, drinking coffee, pulling wrenches, whatever, I'm like, that would be a brilliant business opportunity for folks like my father-in-law, to go and
Maybe we're gonna
have this.
start one.
I know, right? And like I say, I kind of joke about it, but like, maybe you want to keep the band saws out of there. All these old boys, some of them got a pretty good shake going on, white caps in their coffee, but yeah, just a common area that all revolves around the shop and tools and telling old war stories, and
Yep.
give these guys somewhere to remember what they loved.
Well,
Yep.
it's sort of like they do it with animals, right? Like they'll go
Mhm.
like go to cattery or whatever dog area, and right because it's like relatable, and it's like who doesn't like a furry friend? So I guess to your point, it's just like bringing back something that's familiar, especially at a younger age where you're passionate about it, and maybe you were only dreaming about being able to do some of those things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense, man. And well, I think about even when me and my dad were working on the Corvette, and it was sort of like role reversal. Like I remember when he was helping me out with my first Fox, and he was quicker moving than I was because he knew what he was doing. And then now that it came around to the Corvette, he's like, "Fuck you, you work really fast," and he's the
Right.
slower moving one, but I think the most important thing is just the bond, man, and that time. Like not necessarily family bond, but just like enthusiast community bond
Yeah.
over similar interests.
Yeah, it's just like the connection that brings like my wife and I together and most people together with a car. I mean, you come in this world with the passion, right? Why should we take that passion away just because you're old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't at all. And I know there's something extra special. Like you said, Rick, I've never really thought about it much as a meditative state. Maybe just not in those terms, but I've always known in my head, like I'll say to the wife sometimes late at night, when you should be getting ready for bed, I'm like, I'm going to run down to the shop real quick. And she's like, what is the matter with you? Why do you want to do that? I'm like, I'm just running at too high a frequency right now. Like I got to get down there and just do like some garage stuff,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
really truly does, like you say, it allows your monkey mind to attach to something, you're busy with your hands and you can just sort of let everything unwind a bit,
yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, too, right? Like I haven't met an old guy that's ever told me that he thinks he's old or that his brain is old. Like
Yep.
anybody that's ever been older, and Rick, like I know you mentioned you're in your 60s. I'm assuming if I were to ask you how old would you be, like from a mental standpoint, take the body away, you're probably going to
16 to
say 20
18.
something. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
exactly. Right. So, you're just really you're at the mercy of your body and how quick you can move or how you can keep up with stuff. But yeah, that's the key point. Like, it really doesn't matter how old you are. That passion's your passion.
Right. And it
Yeah.
was like, you know, eating Rice Krispies, when you're young, the snap, crackle, pop. Now it's just our
Yeah.
bodies making the snap,
Yeah.
crackle, pop.
Mhm. Well, and guys, I've never actually. My wife's dad is the first guy real close to me that I've known that's gone through this whole dementia thing, or he's currently going through it. Um, and I have met a lot of people in my life, but I can honestly say that I don't know that I've ever met somebody that would consider themselves a real true blue gearhead that still gets themselves out to the shop a couple times a week, or really stays engaged with that whole hobby. I've
Right.
never met somebody that is that engaged that does go down this whole dementia road. Now, somebody can correct me out there if I'm wrong, I don't know, but where I'm going with all this is, your mind's a muscle, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And I know in my father-in-law's case, I mean, he hasn't been out in the shop in years, right? I think some people decide that they're old at a certain point, right? And he was kind of one of those guys. But I mean, you think of the old boys that are in their 80s and 90s, still out there turning wrenches and tuning carburetors and whatever, like they're sharp as a tack, you know? Like they're right in it and right with it.
Yeah,
So
it's true. Well, it's
maybe
like
there's
those
something.
people that do crosswords and stuff all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
keeping the old brain active. I think Rick's
Yeah.
froze on us. Oh,
Oh
we lost
shit, we
him.
lost him. Yeah, man. I agree. Because I know that's one of the things that the folks that are helping him out throughout his weeks and stuff.
Put it on back.
Here we are.
Hey, yeah, you pissed off the internet gods there. No, we were just saying, Rick, like one of the things that the people that are kind of helping my father-in-law out, they get him doing crosswords or these Sudoku puzzles and stuff like that. And I mean, hell, that's just working on cars. You know what I mean? I would say working on cars is
exactly.
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah,
PhD
give me
level
the
of it.
schematic to an A9L computer harness and just let me
Yeah,
study that. Ask me where pin 32 goes.
Yeah,
totally.
managing a lot of people, especially people that are frustrated, and they don't remember a lot. Well, I just taught you that yesterday, and I'm talking young people, right? And they
Mhm.
can have the same frustration going on.
Yeah.
But let's say they're really good at surfing or skateboarding or whatever it is, and you just ask them, "Well, where did you learn that?" And they just start talking, and they just it, and then they go, "Hey, what we were talking about earlier, and you got to get them juiced." And you can try this, and it'll happen every single time. Once you get somebody juiced and you ask them the same question that they couldn't answer, they can answer it.
Hmm.
Right. Huh.
Because
Interesting. Yeah, the
you
way
got you
that
got
the
to change
mind.
your state. You got to change your state. And back to your point, you put someone doing Sudoku and all these different puzzles and painting and all these other things. That didn't juice them when they were young. What's it going to do now? Yeah, it may help them some, but you change your state and something that gets excited. Like when my mother-in-law went into assisted living, I mean, she wasn't in a good way. But now she signs up for every activity. I don't care if it's going to the races or whatever. They get free tickets or whatever event. She's the first to sign up. She's way better now than she ever was. Way better. But you guaranteed, if you change your state, I feel everybody be healthier that much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really good point. You think about, I'm actually, so Rick, I got 3 daughters, and obviously the wife that helped me have those 3 daughters. And I'm really big on with all 4 of them all the time. I'm like, hey, listen, one of the worst things that you can do in any situation is panic. Okay. But the only time that I can think of that you really need to panic is if you come, nose to nose with a bear somewhere, right? That's when, oh shit, 180, go the other way, right? Outside of that, for the most part, you always need to stay in a calm frame of mind, because what happens when you panic? You can't think straight, right? And all of a sudden, step 4 is step 1, and you're everywhere. So to your point about like just being in that calm state of mind, all of a sudden everything's smooth. The water's calm again.
Yeah. Well, and plus in a state that was something that juices you will calm you down, because you
Right.
feel confident. And practically everybody drove a car or liked a car or has a story about a car.
Yeah.
And if you get them working on a car, I don't have any interest in working on a car. Well, tell me a story about one of the best experiences you had in a car. And they start talking, and before you know it, their hands are moving, they're working on the car.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you just got to give people a lot more credit. Just got to
Hmm.
change your state.
Yeah. Yeah. True enough. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
I
kind of
know
like the question you asked with this car. I mean, what got me to that point is because it's something that, anyone can go out and buy a brand new car. You can buy an exotic car and spend all this money. Why? You're not
mhm.
going to create any better memories than I have over the last 40 years with one, that's that old. And I can continue that same journey from something that already had me in that state. And I can continue that journey. And if someone needs to reboot and wants a new journey, it's going to start with whatever car they had that they got these great memories in. So when I
Yeah.
talk to people about a car, it's like, where's the first place you want to take it? Where are you going to go with this car? And just like the Ranchero, we're building that for our Route 66 car. It's been a bucket list to do Route 66. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in the 64 Falcon Ranchero.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris and I talk about this all the time with, for how long we've been hanging out with these silly old Foxbody Mustangs, and, the smells and the sounds and the tastes, like it's that same sort of visceral mental space that you can just instantly snap yourself right back into whatever time frame you were in that you initially had that first memory of these things. And sometimes I was actually just talking to a buddy of Chris and mine's the other day, Mr. Bill Butler out in Detroit, and he's got, well, 3 actually of these beautiful cars, and he hadn't really been doing much with them in the last little while. And it's kind of funny because when you chat with him, like he's just as into them as he always has been. But when it comes to getting out in the garage, like taking that first baby step of getting himself out there again, he had all the excuses in the world, like, ah, shit, I'm too busy and I don't have that part yet and whatever. And I said, Bill, I hate to be this buddy that's going to like lean in on you and go, hey, enough complaining, just get out there and do it. But like, I'm going to have to do it to you. Like, just don't do it for yourself. Do it for me. Okay. So then that way it's a little higher in your priority list. I'm like, just get out there and start pulling a wrench or two on them. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, just yesterday when I talked to him, I said, hey, you working on those cars? Yeah, I did. Holy shit, you're not going to believe it. And boom, boom, boom. Half an hour goes by, right? He's telling me all these war stories about the car. I'm like, that's what you needed, buddy. You needed to remind yourself what it's like to be farting around with them again.
Yeah. And, getting back to the Foxbody, I think they're underestimated, because when you look at what you can do to one, and the car holds together, the power to weight ratio can't be beat. I mean,
No.
it just can't be beat. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have to alter the body at all, put a lot of horsepower to them. And if you got a good unibody that's solid, I mean, they'll hold it. I mean, they're one heck of a car. And you look at the power to weight ratio, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You can put 1,000 horsepower in a big old Mopar, or you can put 500 in a Foxbody. We all know what's going to win.
Right. Yeah. It's been that way for a long time. I know. And we had a fellow on here just a couple of weeks ago that, I think a lot of people that know these cars like they do can understand where he's going with this. But I think to like really staunch, well, in this case, it's going to be Chevy fans. He was comparing these old 5 liters to the 69 Camaro. And I know to people that know Fox bodies, like, you understand the context in which he's trying to explain this. But I think if you were talking to a 69 Camaro fan, they'd laugh you out of the room. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're kind of, those 2 weight classes, we all know that where he's going with it, but like, to a true 69 Camaro fan, I think he's thinking like, get out of here. Like, no bloody way. But it's true. Like, they check all of the boxes. Like you say, the power to weight ratio is just undeniable,
Right.
And like I always say this, they're the working man's car, right? And they're an open canvas to do whatever you want with.
Yeah. And you look at this Mustang, this pace car, and putting the Godzilla, the twin turbos on it, and doing up the motor good. And it was going to be 1,200. Now Joe says it would be 1,500, but we can tune it to 2,200. But, if you got 1,500 horsepower in a car that, weighs about 25 to 2,600 pounds, I mean, come on. I mean, you got a horsepower for every pound and 3/4, it's like, where are you going to do that? And here's a nice thing I like about it is, you could do it to a 69 Camaro, but most of those are buying them for collectors. And I like a Fox body because, you don't feel bad about there's so many of them out there that you can really go to town on one, or you can just have fun, by just putting a few parts to it. And, when you can see why there might be this great, like the 69 Camaro, and they're a beautiful car. Love them, whatever. But they're great collector cars. But if you got, like you said, a working man, fun man, weekend warrior, drag strip, whatever you want to do, it's all there in a Fox
Mhm.
body. And if you want to look just exotic as heck, like we're doing to this 79 by the time it's done, it can be done. And
Yep.
I guess getting back to the very point of talking about this car is I wanted to be able to build a world-class car that's a Fox body.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of them out there in the drag strip. There's a lot that have done really nice. And, you know, but let's take one of the best builders in the world and build the very best Fox body that we can come up with. Is it going to be the best? We don't know, but we're trying awful hard.
Yep.
And so at the end of the day is, you know, showing this car hopefully gets a Seaman and we'll make sure it goes on tour everywhere, is showing what you can do with a Fox body and feel
Right.
great about it, you know? And just, and like Joe said, why they're so excited to do it. Everybody's doing the old Mustangs to this level, and they're doing the new ones, but show me how many Fox bodies have been done to this level.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
so,
Well, Rick, you
go
know,
ahead.
a good friend of Chris and mine's Tom Schwenzer. So he's got a car that essentially he had this same kind of dream, right? Now his wasn't on a chassis; it was all in unibody format and stuff. But he took this thing to be now. What the hell's that show called, Chris? Or what's the
Oh,
award? The Good
so
Guys.
yeah, it's a Muscle Machine of the Year finalist for Good Guys.
Yeah. So went down, and now the car fought a real good fight. So it got blessed into being I don't know, there was 8 or 10 of them being considered. And, you know, he's up against like $1 million Chevelles and stuff and this silly old boxy, you know, Ford Taurus on steroids. And anyway, gets all the way to the final, the car, because are you familiar with what they got to do in this whole thing, Rick? Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
I a little bit.
okay, yeah. So there's a drag race portion. They got to cover so many miles before they drag race. Like, it's a driver's competition kind of thing, right? And the car has to do all these
Yeah.
things well. Anyway, the poor bastard, he gets through all this stuff just with flying colors. And then I think what did he had to do, Chris? He had to like just drive it across the line or something.
Yeah, so I think the drag race was the last one because it was like autocross, 100-mile cruise through like normal traffic conditions and everything else. And yeah, like a quarter-mile run. And I think the car died right at
In the
the end.
quarter mile.
Yeah, in the quarter mile. So he actually crossed the finish line and everything else. But the car needed to be pushed from the end of the quarter mile to back to the show field. And then ultimately from there, they were trying to fix it, right? So this was running on a Holly Terminator X. And one of the guys, the builders, ran the Summit, went and got a new Holly brain, tried plugging it in, and it wouldn't fire. And so it needed to be pushed to the finalist area where they were doing the final judging. So in the back of his mind, you know, it's like, well, technically he completed everything, but it's just sort of that perception that the car broke and that the car needed to be pushed to the end where he's kind of in this like, I'll never know if that is what you know, I mean, made me
Hurt
not
me.
win. Yeah.
Sure.
So but he was the first Fox body to ever be in the finals. He was the newest car by like
20 some
20
years or some
20
bloody thing.
something years, right? Like you're 79, you'd be a little closer, but you know, I think his car is an 89. So he was 20 years newer than everybody, and he was the only car not on a Roadster Shop chassis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think this pace car, and I told Rick this on the phone earlier. I'm like, this car will be one that breaks the internet when it's done. Like, there's just another builder could build one, but like you're not going to get Joe's painting the
No.
graphics on the car. You're not going to get the passion. And this was something else that I told Rick when we were talking. Like I understand why you picked Martin Brothers, because like I remember when Motor Trend was on, there was all of these shows that you could watch, but Martin Brothers and Detroit Steel were the two shows that always stuck out to me, because the people behind them weren't about the drama, they were about the passion.
Right.
So like even though there was a little bit of this dramatic shit for TV and blah blah blah, it was like very, it was very little
Matter of
stuff.
fact.
The fake
Right.
snakes and the firecrackers and shit, right? That they would throw off and scare people on the show. But um I think that the people behind the builds are important, and I think the creativity and what Joe specifically can bring, with the paint and the graphics and everything else, is really what's going to make the car stand out and be ultra unique. Because technically anybody can put a Roadster Shop chassis underneath something. It's all the other million little. It's
Yeah.
all those things that add up. Those will be in poor Rick's labor bill. Those
Yeah.
costs,
Yeah.
all the creativity costs, right?
We don't want to talk about where that's at already, but
Well,
So
and
actually, I am curious to know what's going to be more expensive, the Fox body or the Ranchero?
oh, the Foxbody for sure.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. 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 That one, we'll put it this way. You could get a new vet that have it pumped up to 1,000 horsepower. That's bending frames right now. And, so anybody can put a roaster shop. And I like all your points. Why we picked Joe is a lot of the shops that build a fabulous car is a show car,
Mm.
strictly. But we're building a car that's good for show, but it's going to have a hell of a lot more go. And with the 1,500 to 2,000 horsepower in a Fox body, not the spec chassis, but a fast track, roadster shop chassis. It'll have roll bars, in the back behind the seat and all those other things. And we'll do some balancing on it and get the thing so it can put on a show too if you want to.
yeah,
And it's going to be, um, like I said, I want everybody to know it's a driver's car, and it's one that just doesn't look pretty, and everybody goes, "Wow, wow!" Look at that. Oh man, that's amazing. I want to look at that and say amazing, but then when they see it go, they're going to go, "Oh, what the hell?" You know,
right.
y- you know, and because rarely do you see both to this
Yeah,
level,
Yeah.
and it, so it's a bucket list thing that you're only going to probably do once in a lifetime.
yeah,
But Joe was really happy to do it because, hey, no one really does it to this level to a Fox body.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, Rick, I think the neatest part for me anyway about this, because to your point, yeah, like there are lots of people out there that can cut a check and make these things happen and whatever, but uh, the back end story that leads up to this point of cutting the check
Yeah,
is what really makes a car build for me special.
yeah,
Like because there's all the like look at the movie stars out there, right? I mean, they're buying this car and that car, and maybe they do have a little bit of a story, but it's like, oh, I sat in one of these when I was a kid, but like nothing with the substance that yours has.
right,
Like this is a proper backstory.
right. And when they hear the story, like when we show the car and everything, like Joe said, it's about the story and
Yeah,
what made this happen. And just like you said, anybody can write the check. And if I could just write the check and didn't have the story, do you think I would have picked a 79 Mustang Foxway? No, it was all about the story, like you said.
yeah,
And but if you're going to do it, and we have the opportunity and graces of everybody to be able to afford to do something like this, is to have everybody see, that you make your dreams come true and how the connection happened and the backstory is all worth it because you can continue that story. And as you get
yeah,
older, there's no better time because
yeah.
I need to feel young again.
So
I got a
actually,
funny feeling 2,000 horsepower is going to help you do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe you mentioned you have two kids.
Two. Yep.
And so are they motorheads as well? Is there going to be a
Not at
all
all. Yeah,
right?
Oh,
not at all. Accountant and communications person. She likes her Subarus. The son's happy as long as he doesn't have to tinker with it and nothing goes wrong, and it's all okay. Which
is the is the
that's the
son the
norm. That's
accountant?
great. What's that?
Is the son the accountant?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he's the one that, as long as it starts and gets me to where I need to go, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Which is true to the fashion of his profession too. And our daughter
Right.
loves Subarus, but it's and she loves her cars too, but nothing to the hot rod level I do. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you get
Right.
a grandchild between one of the two of them that you can groom into being a motorhead, and then you'll have a little bit of succession planning for the cars after. If the kids aren't interested in them, maybe it's you just got to skip them and go straight to the grandkids.
Well, it's just like I guess we've talked about it like this. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it because they all know this car is the legacy. If it hadn't happened, it helps tell the story of why they're even here.
Yeah,
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
continue to show the car and be a part of it and be proud of it, and just have to probably build something else so that they have another car take a car show because one will want one and one will want the other.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, do you got any other cars? Like, are you farting around with anything on your own, Rick?
Couple motorcycles, yeah,
Oh yeah.
and the GPZ 1100 fuel injected Cowie the first year, 81. Still has a
Oh,
break-in sticker on it, barn find. It's got 2,500 miles on it, and
cool.
that was the first production bike to go in the nines, which now that's all of them. But
Right.
but then we have an older Suzuki. I'm all about family. These were both my uncle's bikes, and they were going to get rid of them. I said no. I even got my great uncle's side by 4x4. I mean ATV, and then my mom's side by side, which I have all jacked up. It's got air conditioning, a Polaris Ranger. I've had a lot of Wranglers. I drive a new Wrangler. I got a Ram pickup. My wife drives a Porsche and a Jeep.
Oh yeah.
So we got plenty of wheels around. Nothing like Chris with 15 Fox bodies, but
Okay, well, and you brought up sleds earlier. Are sleds still a thing for you?
no, and not anymore. There used to be a lot of snow here, and now there's hardly any. But yeah, my son even raced the little kitty cats. And the first year they had the X Games in the mini X Games we had, and everything
Yep.
like that. And he finished fourth in the nation in points, so we could build a pretty mean sled. And I used to race Snow Pro 77 to 81, just in our area. I didn't follow the whole circuit. It was all flat track back then.
Yep.
So, yeah. And so ice ovals.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I know, like, well, out here in British Columbia, we get a lot of folks from the Dakotas and from Saskatchewan, right? They all want to come out and do the mountain riding, right?
Right.
And and I was born and raised out here in BC too. So I always found it kind of funny to see all these license plates from these other areas. And I mean, hell, there's some like proper sleds that come to town from the flatlands. And I think to myself, like, what do you guys do with these bloody things other than just go like you're on fire on those flat lands, jumping through ditches and stuff? Like these great big high powered machines, it must just be like more flatland drag racing.
Well, a lot of them, and I used to sell snowmobiles in Arctic Cat dealership. You'd be surprised because, when you got a paddle track on them, up here with all the hard pack, the high facts that just burn out right away, and there's no way you could. A lot of them just had different sleds. I know a lot of them that had their mountain sleds only to take to the mountains, but they had their
Right.
ditch runners too.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have some of each, I guess, hey?
Well, even at one time we had 7 sleds.
Right.
You know,
One for every day of the week.
well, it was more like
Hey, there
3
you go,
for parts
Garen.
and the rest to ride.
Another
Yeah.
7. He had 7 sleds.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
there's
go, another
another
7.
7. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. There was something else in there that had a 7 and a 9 in it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't
do you
remember.
know, Rick, do they still make those little Arctic Cat kitty cats and stuff?
No, they went to a 120. Now, Arctic Cat closed down and they just got resold to Arco, so they'll be coming back to do that. But those little kitty cats, no, they're kind of a collector's item now. If you can get one, especially the 72s, the original ones with the aluminum tunnels and stuff,
Right.
they're worth picking up if you can pick one up.
Well, okay, here's another one that comes to mind now, an old sled that rings a bell for me. You're gonna have to get one of those Polaris. What the hell were they? An Indy 500 or something?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
park that beside the pace car.
Yeah, probably I wouldn't do that. I'm not really a big Polaris guy, but I like my Arctic Cat. I like my ditch pickles, what we call
Okay,
them. Yeah.
right.
But yeah, Indy 500, what Joe and I were talking about the other day, it was like a lot of people don't know they made a 79 Indy pace truck too, Ford. And wouldn't that be cool to?
Ford did.
Yeah, yeah. Then 79, you get
Oh.
F-150, F-250, and F-350. The wreckers, they had a couple of wreckers that year, at the track too, that were the 350 with a wrecker, and then they had the F-250 and 150, and they had a very limited production of the four-wheel drive Indy, in the Indy theme.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
I
So
didn't know
I
that
said,
either.
yeah, I said that'd be cool to pull them both out.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, yeah.
Yeah. I said,
Huh.
even for show, just, if you had to have it in the trailer and unhook your good hauler and just hook that to it and pull in with a, 79 pulling a 79.
Oh geez, you're giving me goosebumps again, Rick. No, that should be something that should happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
They're really
Yeah.
rare, hard to get. We'd probably have to make a clone, but we could do a 79 pace truck pulling a 79 pace car. That'd
Right.
be, yeah. He thought that
What
was a
year,
good idea.
Rick, was it 79 that they went to the square headlight in the front end of those pickups?
78 and 79.
78, 79. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pickup that I've got memories with too. My grandpa had one, and japers, I can still see that dash. I can still smell the interior of that truck,
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to trucks, I got newer trucks and it seems like there's always something going wrong. And I'm getting to the point, if I don't have a steel dash and ashtray, I probably don't want it.
It's so true. Hey, I
Yeah.
know all this new bloody technology. And I mean, sure, all these cameras and everything else are kind of neat in various situations, but like then the rain comes and you go, oh, that camera's not working anymore. And like I tell everybody, I'm like, I don't think these trucks nowadays, like brand new ones, if you want to buy a truck and keep it for forever, like the old boys used to, don't do it with one of these new ones. Good grief. You'd just have a nightmare on your hands with long-term ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at all these people that, on these Mopars and they, put the bigger Hemi in it, and or the Wranglers are putting the Hemi in it. And and before they were offered in it, they're having all kinds of problems and they just can't,
Yep.
keep up on the electronics and everything else. But it sure works good to put a Godzilla in one of those old 79s. I mean,
Yeah.
there's Montana Broncos. That's all they specialize in. Godzillas going into old Broncos and old pickups.
Right. Right. Are they putting the Hemi in the Jeeps now?
Yep, 392.
Okay. Like in the Wrangler Jeep too, not like the grocery getter Jeep.
Yep, Wrangler. Yep.
Because wasn't there an outfit that was doing that for people? Because for the
Yeah.
longest time, I don't think you could get the V8 in them.
Yeah, you can get a 6.4 392. Last year was supposed to be the last year, but now they got rid of the CEO and now they're going to do it again. So.
Oh, okay. Get rid of the fun buster and let's go kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when they came out with what do they call the pickup style Jeep now?
Gladiator.
Gladiator, right?
Yeah, you
And
can't get the Hemi in that.
Oh Christ! Well, we need a new CTO again. Then somebody's got to get that put together because that would be a cool rig.
Yeah, there's conversion companies, and there's a guy in town here that's got over 200 grand putting a Hemi into his, and
Really?
and if you came up to him right now at 90, he'd take it.
Really?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh.
They're just keep you just can't keep it tuned. And just,
Oh,
you know,
really?
if it's not done from the factory with all their know-how, it doesn't work. Like
Huh.
we took one and put a big turbo on it, a Wrangler, and 700 horsepower Wrangler, put basically made a 1-ton Wrangler, and this
Yeah.
was in 2018, in a 2018 Wrangler, and put big bear brakes on it, 37-inch wheels. It pulled the front tires off the ground, but
Right.
you couldn't get the ping out of the motor, couldn't get anything else to work, so we took it off.
Damn.
Really?
Yeah, it just so even had sent the computer to Texas to the Skunk Works in Mopar, had the computer wiped so we could put our own tunes in it, and no one can get them out. And the
Really?
same
Hey.
problem they're having, but when they come from the factory with them, they seem to work.
Well, that's just it. I mean, hell, I see them all over town here, like those RT Durangos and stuff, and even the little Jeep Cherokees and stuff. Christ, they go like a bat out of hell. Those things.
Yeah, yeah, you can get that Hellcat motor in a Durango. Just
You can, hey.
yeah, it flies.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've even had a rental, like a Charger with, I think it's got that like, or had that 392 in or whatever. That thing went like a cut cat. Like it was a quick car.
Yeah, yeah. I just drove a TRX that had some work done to it, and it was so scary just because of that suspension and everything.
Right.
Having that kind of horsepower that high up in the ground, I wouldn't even park it. I said, "You guys park it." Because whenever time you hit the gas, I could just, it lunged so bad that I thought I was going back over a row of cars.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
that one had been pumped up. It was 700 horsepower, and I think it was over 1,000 at that point. But
Oh wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I guess when you just get so engulfed in like one road of automotive, like in our case, it's these Fox body cars. You hear little tidbits of all of the other manufacturers here and there, but I didn't realize that people were having that much trouble trying to make these things work in the way they want them to. Because there's actually a guy out there, I want to say it's maybe a Calypso colored coupe that he's put a Hellcat motor in it. I just
Yeah.
recently seen something on this, and now hearing what you're saying, Rick, I'd be interested to hear if he's struggled with it, or maybe
well,
he's
I
just
hear
like,
they're fine in a car. It's just trying to put them in those Gladiator trucks that weren't equipped for it. So if he was going to a bigger, the Hellcat just from a Hemi in that car,
yeah,
I think he'd be fine.
and yeah, maybe if it's just a like transplant, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like running, turn, whatever,
yeah.
drop it in the next
Now,
car,
now,
you're
don't get
good.
me wrong. There's guys now in their shops now that can make them work, but they've been trying to do this for 3 years and they're finally figuring it out. I mean, and but at first it was a nightmare. But hey,
Right.
it's like anything else. It's like first you don't succeed, you try again. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they're making them work now. But boy, a lot of people had problems for a while, and I think it had a lot to do with who they had built it, thought they could do
Mm,
it. Probably the one I'm talking about has been to 3 shops, and it apparently works now really good. But it's taking
right.
that long to get the tech caught up.
Right. Do you know why, Rick? Like why they don't want to put the Hemi in that Gladiator at all?
I haven't heard. I have no idea. I have no
Hmm.
idea. But you take something. I mean, trying to get it wasn't made for that. And you're trying to get all the electronics to work and all the computers, and I can see where it'd be a nightmare if you didn't really have it dialed in.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, when you think about where Jeep started, right? What was it, like 46 or something with the Willys? And
Yeah,
it's such a neat story to
42, yeah,
yeah,
41.
right. Yeah, such a neat story to hear told. But you think about those little four banger inline, and it was just all gear ratios, and hell, they'd climb a tree
Yeah,
forwards or reverse, like it was all about just traction and maneuverability and stuff. And then here we are going, how it would be great to see 700 horsepower in one of these bloody things, you know?
Yeah. You know, the neat thing about those old ones, they only went about 40 miles an hour. We had a 46 Willys, and you could
Yeah.
put that in granny gear and it would idle, and you couldn't hardly kill it. It would idle and you'd hook something to it. The tires would sit there and spin if it couldn't pull it, even at idle. It was nuts.
Get out and have a pee and then run and catch up and jump back in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that did. They'd have it, you know, just at a crawl and keep going
Yeah.
and get out and do their business and get back in.
Yeah. No, I know. I've been down to Moab for Easter Jeep Safari. And boy, you see everything and anything down at that function. You know, everything from the old Willys to like high horsepower. It's typically geared towards just, you know, your ability to maneuver those obstacles and stuff. And some of the stuff that those Jeeps will do is mind-boggling. Like
Oh, yeah.
they'll put new $50,000 to $100,000 side by sides to shame. It's unreal.
Oh yeah, we were in Utah at a gas station, and there was two on a trailer, and then another one come in, and they said, "You guys must be heading to Moab, yeah." And these were like newer Jeeps, and it is like, and I said, "Wow, these aren't no low budget deals." And he goes, "No, they're about $250,000 a piece."
Yeah.
Jeez.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they were done up, and you could tell by their articulation. I mean, of what they could do would be mind blowing, mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. You see some of those, and I mean, well, they get to a point where it's just tube chassis and maybe you rivet on a couple of panels, right? But to your point, Rick, it's just all about that articulation. And to see one of these Jeeps in, you know, a haywire scenario where the front passenger tire is above the driver's head and the rear driver's tire is below their ass, and this thing's just walking itself through stuff, you know,
Yeah,
like
it's nuts.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I watched the video where it's just about straight up, not quite, but just about, and they go up it. And it's like, wow,
Yep.
it's nuts, nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but would you guys got any Fox body projects that you're working on right now that are in infancy stages or far along or where you're at?
Not really infancy stages, Rick. Well, actually, I can't believe you guys haven't asked me how the hell my hood's so high up in the air over my shoulder right now. But
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that.
yeah. So no, this one, the story with this car behind my shoulder, it's been with me since I was 17.
Oh, that's the one Chris was telling me about. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the one that, and I've really financially got no business turning down $1 million, but it is the car that I say that I wouldn't take $1 million for. Yeah, had it with me forever. I mean, this thing's got $10 million worth of memories in it, you know, and have been fortunate enough to maneuver my way through life where I didn't have to sell it when we had kids and all those things. So she's been with me a long time. And it's just over the last maybe year and a half that I've kind of got all the things that I circled in the magazines in the 90s. I was able to put them all to work on this car and kind of finally getting it to a point where it's what I always hoped it would be.
Sure.
So,
Neat.
So why's the hood up?
Yeah.
right. So, well, I've got, well, and it sounds like your car might be getting one of these too, a vintage air AC kit in this car.
Yep.
And because it never came with AC from Ford and always wanted it. So through doing that, I've ran into some sensor scenarios where I've had to kind of reconfigure where my temp sensors are put in the lower intake and stuff. And the one I'm utilizing the back passenger corner sort of hole that goes into the coolant passage for my dash coolant temp sensor. And it's still reading real high on me. And for obvious reasons, it's at the back of the motor. It's kind of the tail end of the coolant track and whatever else. Anyway, I'm going to yard that one out, which doesn't sound like a really hard thing to do, but I've also got a Kenny Bell supercharger on this car. It's quite busy on top.
5.0.
And so, Yeah, so it is 5.0 still. Yep. So just trying to get down in there is a little bit of a dick around. Hence the reason why I've got my hood the way it is. It's zap strapped to my garage door opener right now, and gives me a little more room to work back in there. But yeah, I'm just kind of at the tail end of it all and ready to get out and start enjoying this thing a little bit.
Neat,
Nice.
neat.
Yeah.
That looks like a 80 something convertible back there.
That one's it's in the 90s as well. That's a 91.
90, 91.
Actually, you might like this. So speaking of Daisy Duke there, that car was originally owned by Miss Arkansas in 1991. She won it for winning the pageant.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did
And
it
you
end
know
up
what?
way up there?
So the way the story goes is the folks that I bought it from, they were down in Rowlett, Texas, and they had tracked me down through my YouTube channel and stuff. It was kind of funny because they left me a long comment on one of my videos, and it said, "Hey, send me your email, and I'll tell you the story on this car." And I don't know. I said earlier, like I'm a small town kid. The internet's still kind of a wild place for me, and I thought, oh man, if I send my email, I'm just going to end up with a bunch of dick pics or something. This might not end well for me. But then I thought, oh, what's a couple dick pics? You never know. Maybe you miss out on a good opportunity. So I send them my email. And sure enough, I get this big long write up on the story of this car. And the way it went is, yeah, Miss Arkansas got the car for winning the pageant. And she rattled around the southeastern states in it for a few years. Then it went to auction, and the couple that I bought it from, the gal's dad was a little bit of a deadbeat dad, and he wanted to make up for that for her 16th birthday. So he bought the car out of auction and put it on the driveway with a bow on it. And she came out all excited to have this 5.0 Mustang, and looked in the door and went, "Oh, Dad, it's a 5-speed. I don't know how to drive stick." So she took a run at it, but never really warmed up to the whole idea of driving a manual. So the car sat and sat and sat and sat. And then they started watching my YouTube channel and reached out and said, "Hey, you like cars that got neat stories? We got one and we're thinking about getting rid of it." And I thought, holy smokes. I mean, it's all the way down in Texas and I'm up here in BC. But anyway, I figured it all out, imported the car and brought it up here. It was just getting into COVID, like 21 or something.
Oh, yeah, 21. Wow, neat story.
Have you
Yeah.
seen Miss Arkansas 1991?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to say this about it. So I have tried reaching out to this woman. I've gone to great lengths, right, to like try and hit her up on Facebook or
But, like, have you
LinkedIn or
seen
whatever.
pictures? Like, the car should have
Yeah,
come with a poster, is what I'm
she,
thinking.
and here's the thing. I know my wife doesn't listen to the pod, so I won't get in too much trouble for this. She's still a looker, and she was definitely a looker back in the day. I mean,
Right.
for obvious reasons. She won the damn pageant, right? But I've been saying this all night, Rick. I love the story behind things.
Yeah,
And I thought, how neat would it be to connect with this gal and say, hey, I mean, I've been told that this is your car. Can you confirm this? And how about you tell me some of the stories that you've got with it? You know,
sure. Yeah.
but I
Especially-
can't get her to bite. I don't know. Maybe it's the beard. I don't know.
Send her a picture of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I keep sending her pictures with my shirt off and it's not working. I don't get it.
Maybe you should try a dick pic.
How about
So-
you, Chris? Are you working on any project
Actually, I've been
for
trying to
yourself?
get caught up on some of my own stuff, and I've got a silver notch that it needed a clutch replacement. In when did that start slipping? End of 2023. So here we are, mid 2025. I'm finally getting around to it. So it actually just moved underneath its own power this evening again. So all the mechanical stuff and the other little things like the emergency brakes were never hooked up. So I got that all done. And on the conversation of air conditioning, I as well was cursed with a non AC from factory car that's now down here with me in Texas. So, although I'm going to go back to like an OEM AC outfit just because I have all the parts laying around. So that's the
Sure.
next step for the car. And then, yeah, I'll be able to check that one off the list and move on something else.
Sure. You putting a Godzilla in that one, or is it 5.0?
That one's a 5.0. It's actually a super low mile car. I think yeah, it hasn't even wrapped 20,000 miles on it yet. So
Wow.
kind of
Good.
just keeping the originality the most I can on that one. But yeah, I'm hoping we'll see. I got a 93 Cobra that I picked up a couple weeks back that got hit really hard in the passenger rear quarter panel. And, at first I was just, whatever, I'll part the car out. And then, of course, the internet comes and yells at you and says, no, you should fix the car. So uh, I brought it to a body shop just down the road from me here, and they got it up on the rack on Monday. And they actually thought, at like just looking at the pictures and stuff that I sent to them, they were like, that's pretty bad looking. But they said the inner frame rail wasn't that bad, so they're going to be doing the pulls on it tomorrow and Friday.
Oh, good.
And yeah, that one, yeah, because at that point, salvage title's got some miles. Super clean car, don't get me wrong, but the money isn't in it to put it back to stock. So that one, I'm thinking Godzilla swap and doing something pretty cool with it.
Cool. You're gonna
Yeah.
do one with a fast track chassis now that you've seen this one?
I think it'd be a good candidate for the spec chassis, just because, like, the little bit of, I guess tweaking, if you will, and then
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to try a spec because I'm fortunate enough I get to play around with your car with the fast track
There you
chassis.
go.
I got the best of both worlds.
The neat thing is, like, when you buy like all the chassis stuff for like your unibody, I mean, it's not that much more to get the whole spec chassis,
It's
Yeah.
not.
right?
The thing is, I just think, like, most Foxbody guys, and we've talked about this quite a bit as well, as nobody has, I guess, that much disposable income, like, generally speaking, you know what I mean? People just don't have the 30 grand to say, oh, I'm just going to throw that at a built roadster shop spec chassis.
In one
You know,
foul swoop,
yeah,
right?
like,
When you're
things are
piecing it
happening.
together, it seems cheaper.
Yeah, like they're doing stuff in stages, and
Yeah, yeah,
I can appreciate that. I remember when I had to do stuff in stages, and you spend more money and it takes more time, but at least you got the car and you're doing something, right? So
right.
I think the importance is do with what you can, and the means that you have, or hustle a little bit harder if you have to get what you want, um, and go from there. But no, I agree with you, man. Like it is the path of least resistance. I'm very curious to see the drivability. Like I want to like just have that experience of, okay, here's a unibody Fox with no subframe connectors. Here's one that's got subframe connectors in it. Here's one on the fast track chassis. Here's one on the spec chassis, and see how they all compare. I think that'd be a really cool analysis to do.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Put it out on
Yeah.
that track that's down by not far from you guys down there. That one that Joe has on the TV show where they test drive some cars. Could take them, all three of them there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got is the Circuit of the Americas you're
Yeah,
thinking of?
yeah, that's
Yep.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, Coda. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be a really, I mean, I don't know anybody that's into these cars, or hell, even if you're not, why you wouldn't be interested in someone's opinion, right? Behind the wheel doing the thing of how
And
Well,
each one
it
feels.
doesn't need to be a thing of power or of speed, right?
No,
Just if you're
exactly.
going in a corner at 100 in every single iteration of this, and you measure the G's or like the body roll and all
Body
that, that's
roll.
really all
Yeah,
you need to see
measure. Right.
what you're after. Yeah.
And when you start to think about it, I'm used to like late model race cars, dirt track cars, where if you're going to be competitive, your shock program, just your shocks, look it up,
Yeah.
15 to 20 grand
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for a set of shocks. And then if you're going to have them custom built, it's going to cost you even more. And let's say you go
Mhm.
through 2 sets a year. all of a sudden you're at 30 grand just in shocks.
Yeah.
So, so when you look at, and the point I'm trying to get at is when I raced, I had a race motor and but I had the chassis really set up, but my race motor wasn't ready, but I wanted to race. So I took it out of a 70 Chevy pickup and put my manifold on it and my distributor on it and went out and took second.
Hmm.
So to your point, Chris, you don't have to have the power, especially on a road course, but you got to make the thing handle. So I think that'd be a good test if
Yeah.
you brought all three of those together and just, seeing what it was going to do. And
Is there any testing done that either of you two are aware of, like real world testing on that chassis yet? Or has everything just been hypothetical in like computer programming?
well, I know they didn't have to scan this when they already had the scan. So when they had to build, I mean, we had to wait like 8 months to get that
Right.
chassis built, 9 months. But when you look at it, I just don't know anybody that has a fast track Fox out there anywhere. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think Goolsby did one like a number of years ago, but I don't know what happened to the car, to what extent. Because to your point earlier, Rick, like a lot of people built these cars for show and not for real world practice,
Right.
So it's everyone's like, oh, I'm just going to buy that, not because, and it's sort of like that whole form over function thing, because it's like, why are you going to spend the money on that if it's just going to be a trailer queen and you're never even going to drive it? It's never going to see rain. You know what I mean? You might as well as not put bare brakes on it and not put, fancy,
Well, yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like if that's all that it's going to do, like a
Well, I
lot
was
of things these
drooling.
cars
Yeah,
are.
think about this. I mean, I was drooling when you see your frame and your drive shafts above your frame.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know what that thing's going to do. I don't want to look at it. To your point, we could have thrown anything together and made it look pretty as heck. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to put this thing through the paces.
Yeah. Yeah. All go and show.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
But I mean, the guys obviously have, like terabytes of data with all the other chassis that they've built that,
right.
has real world experience on it. But to that point, Chris, like other than the Goolsby car, and I haven't even seen anything on that, but I'm really curious to know how this chassis will do like in real world
Well, I think
examples.
too, like this chassis on the Fox, we were talking about power to weight ratios earlier, right? And I know that the claims here are that you pretty much are not adding any additional weight
Correct.
Yeah.
by going with either one of the chassis if you do it right. And you know what I mean? So if you're thinking about that, and then like part of me is also thinking about Tom's car on how it did in the road course and all those things, the good guys, but he was up against old like vehicles that were twice as big, like old
Yeah.
school American muscle, right? So I think this would be the perfect opportunity. Like we get literally Tom's car would be the perfect candidate to go up against the spec and the fast track chassis and to see
There you
what they
go.
do.
Mm-hmm.
What turned me on to the track chassis is like being around race cars and if you can get your setup right and get your shock program right and for what you're going to be using it for because the center of gravity is that much lower and
Right.
and so that's going to work to your advantage and on a car that's already got a great power to weight ratio and we should be reducing some weight on this car but it might be close to what the factory is, we don't know yet but I want to be able to take something that you could really set up like a true race car
Mm.
and that fast track you should be able to do that but yet still keep that low center of gravity. You can do it on a spec, yeah, but you added yourself another 4 inches,
Yeah.
but and you can suck everything up, but keeping all that weight down, just like where they're mounting the turbos low, trying to keep everything low, make sure the batteries in the back, and when they set it up, the motors move back a little bit and stuff, and that's why we not putting any wipers in the car because there's no room.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Well, another one actually that would be really neat. This would really round out a comparison of all those different variations would be like that new Ride Tech double wishbone front end deal. Their
Oh, the
new
SLA setup.
yeah,
Yeah.
throw that in there too. I think then you're checking every single curiosity box that anyone's wondering about how these things weigh up against each other, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
curious, even the ride tech thing, like there isn't, and I know that they do race their cars and do everything else. But I haven't seen anything that has their IRS and the SLA set up in the front, like with actual numbers and figures. Like we've seen Pro Tour Fox. We know he drives his car, but I mean, we haven't seen it go around a racetrack at the same time either. So
Right. The other thing that made a big difference to us is that, even if I don't know if they have for motors, but when you put a Godzilla in there, you got 100 some pounds more than
mm,
a Coyote, but it's still 150 pounds less than an old 429.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so when you're looking at doing that and being able to lower that center of gravity with that kind of horsepower, I just didn't want any body roll, because you're
Mhm.
going to get that much more with that torque and depending on when you're hitting the apex and stuff like that. And so, I think just that was cool as hell. The drive shaft's right here.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, that'll be a flat car. That's it's gonna be really neat to see done.
Yeah. Then it's see done. No, drive it when it's done. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Well,
anybody can make it look pretty, and it's going to be done up to a neat way, but there's just not too many done up with the in that other track Broacher Shop chassis. Did they have a Godzilla in that one too, or is that one you're reference there, Chris?
So Roadster Shop themselves are doing a Fox
I know that.
body.
Yeah, but that car that
Goolsby
you
one.
said that
The
had built
Goolsby one.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Goolsby. Yeah.
yeah. What's that have in it for a motor?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It would have been before the Godzilla platform, so I don't know. It could just have a small block Ford in it. Shit, it could have an LS in it for all I know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted all Ford. Didn't want
Yep.
no LS in it.
Well, I don't blame you,
No.
man. Don't blame
No,
you.
no.
And it'll sound just as mean chopping away with push rod displacement instead of some overhead coyote thing in there too.
Yeah, and we put that 3-inch with Borlas on it, and with the twin turbos, we're all wondering what it's going to sound like. No one knows.
No, that's
Yeah.
another thing too.
Yeah, I mean, find another one with that setup, and we know, but we don't know of another one.
Yeah.
No, you guys are literally writing history here, Rick, with this car.
Well, history that we don't know about. What someone else may have
This
done it, but
Yeah.
yeah, but
it's true.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to well, and maybe what we can do is do a part 2 of this once you get the car, because I want to see how many smiles per gallon you're getting after putting some seat time in that car.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's
Mhm.
going to be on tour for a while, but we'll be doing it at different shows, so we can do it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This like Joe Martin said, this car needs to be seen and talked about. So
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
and pleasure to be on here. I got a cut, but hey,
Yeah.
thanks guys. Appreciate it
No, it's
so much.
perfect timing, Rick. No, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's short notice, but yeah, looking forward to the build and yeah, it's going to be awesome for sure.
Great. Hey, and thanks for kind of heading up this Foxbody community that I'm just starting to learn about again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great group of guys for sure, man. So, well, hell, just even like this whole T-roof adventure, we'll have the solution sorted out here within 24 hours for you.
Yeah, well, they only made 3 official pace cars with T-tops. Well, now there's gonna be 4. I don't even
Yeah.
know if, I know where one of them is. I don't know about the other 2 where they ended up. But this will be the only one like it, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Dang right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Rick. We really appreciate you taking the time, sir. Tell the wife
Oh, no,
thanks
thank
for
you. Yeah.
tell the wife thanks for letting you sneak away for a couple hours and go to the gym with us.
Yeah, there you go. Take care, guys.
All right, you
see
too.
ya.
See you, Rick.
Yeah, take care now. I don't even know how to log off here.